everyone, this is Robin. I'm here with your NEPA shows coming up this week on Friday, November 18th.
Hey, and welcome back to the Beyond the Break podcast. I'm your host, AL.
And I'm Ben, your co-host. How you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
Sweating like a lot of things I shouldn't say on the internet. So, but yeah. I'm good.
You're not giving in to the AC, huh?
I can't. I really want to, but I can't justify putting it on in April. It's April.
Yeah, I folded so easy. I've been running the AC all week.
I need there to be like a prime up. Like there was that, I don't know if you've ever heard of that experiment about like putting a frog in a frying pan. You toss the frog in a hot frying pan, it jumps right out. But if you put it on the frying pan and gradually warm it up, it'll stay the whole time until it fries itself, basically. We need that warm up frog time. I can't do this right in the hot pan. Like what happened to like the 60s and the 50s?
Yeah. This is how people get sick, and something's been going around too, man. Like everybody's dropping like flies, and this thing lasts for freaking ever, whatever it is.
And then allergy season on top of it, and
yeah, I don't want to talk about it. It's horrible. I'm living it.
We have to hire a makeup artist soon, just so we look like we're human when we get on here.
So today we've got a really cool guest. If anybody's been paying attention to what's going on in the film world here in Northeastern Pennsylvania, there's a movie being produced in Nanticoke called Nanticoke, and it's a horror movie. And we've got the producer, Michael Judkins, as our guest today. So he's a Pennsylvania-based producer, director, and writer. And he's going to join us to discuss pre-production. He works in independent film. He's worked since 2016 when he became a script supervisor for a short film being produced in the Lehigh Valley. He then worked on several film projects during the following years, filling roles like production manager, key grip, and producer. Michael's also is a published poet. He's authored 2 full collections of work after starting as a self-published writer. The collections sit alongside an accompanying stage play written, produced, and directed by Michael. He also holds numerous degrees with a Master's of Science degree in mental health counseling and has over 20 years of experience in the human services field. So I'm super excited to see what Michael has to share with us and our viewers and our contestants that may be watching about, some pre-production tips, tricks that he might be able to share. But before we get to that, I do want to show you a video that's from actually the very first season of The Big Break in Denver. This video, some bands ask about covers, can they play covers? And the answer always is yes, but if it has to be, it has to be put in your own style, right? Yeah. So this is a good example of one. This is Combustion Mechanism from Denver.
I don't wanna lose your love.
A little 2012 humor there for you, right?
That was a good one.
How are you, Michael?
I'm well, fellas. How you guys doing? Ben and EL, thank you for having me on the big break. I'm excited to talk with you guys. Thank you again.
Excellent, dude. Excellent, man. Wow, you've got a lot going on. You know, I was looking at your history and I'm like, man, this guy's been busy. Tell us, you know, a little bit about you, where you're from, how all of this got started for you.
Oh yeah. So originally, I'm actually from the Bronx, New York. So I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. Still have a bunch of family and friends that's in New York. I've been a creative pretty much all my life. My creative story starts in high school, in Bronxboro High School. I actually was in my global studies class. That tells you my age because remember, you know, they don't call it global studies no more. They call it like something else now. So global studies 2 I was in, and my teacher at the time, we finished the exam and I was just, you know, you can't do anything till the bell rings. So you're sitting there waiting. I flipped over the paper and I started doodling. And the next day when I came back into school, she gave me back the paper and gave me an A. The grade was a B, but she gave me an A plus because on the back of it, I actually written my first poem and didn't realize I was actually writing a poem. And she graded and gave me extra points for the exquisite detail of the imagery of the writing and then she told me, she said, you need to pursue writing. That was the first. And I was just doodling on a piece of paper, bored, waiting for the bell to ring, like, you know, ready to go, and just doodling. And then I sparked this talent I didn't know I had. So she was the person that motivated me to say, "Hey, give it a try."
That's awesome. Cool. That's awesome. And it just kept going from there, huh?
Yeah, and from there, you know, my first actual taste in entertainment industry, so to say, was I used to be, back in the day, they used to be called club kids. So I grew up at the time to where late 90s, early 2000 New York scene. So I used to be a club promoter for a very famous club promoter in New York. He had a bunch of clubs in Lower Manhattan, hip hop and EDM clubs. And back then it was just strictly called dance clubs. And I was one of the promoter guys. I was considered a street team person. And if everybody remember that term, I used to go around and get people to come to the party and sign them up to the guest list and, you know, I used to be on Fordham Road, and that was my station to kind of get people to sign up and come to Club Vertical. And, you know, it was a cool gig, and it was a free party Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, I did that from like 18 to like 20. At the same time, I was meeting people in the local music industry. At that time, I met a couple of choreographers that I was doing auditions with because I was dancing a little bit. And then I was also meeting musicians at the same time. I was invited to the Little Kim Actually Crush on You video set. So I was actually there watching that whole production, and that got a taste of seeing how a professional music set, a professional music video is seen, you know, the production side of that. And that was me, 19-year-old Mike, and still running the club scene and bouncing around and doing that. And that led to me saying, okay, I understand. And I started Beijing Production. So I used to manage a couple of artists, doing a couple of promotions of my own. And all of, you know, with all that going on at that 18 and 20 years, I was going back and forth to school. So I took some time off from school, college. And I said, you know what, I was ready to learn the business, but at that time I was more looking at the glitz of that world, right? So at that time, I stopped going to SUNY Morrisville because I was in school for journalism, and I stopped going for like about 2 semesters. I took off, was doing more stuff in music industry, and I decided to go back to school. I was like, you know what, I'm going to continue doing my creative arts, but I want to continue my understanding of every type of what I wanted to do as well too. So that got me, you know, I went back to school. I got my associates in SUNY Morrisville up in Morrisville, New York, for journalism. I was a journalism major, so I did radio, college radio. I did NPR radio. I was on an NPR station down here, WDIY. So I was a radio host for couple of years, and it was just a blossom of just trials and tribulations of life, but understanding my concept of I love my creative art, but I also wanted to understand my passion of mental health and see how can one day I can merge my two worlds together. So that was my task. That was my goal throughout the years. And the creative side just been something that fueled me. That was my juice, so to say. That was my own mental health, where after re-emerging back into the industry, the small industry in 2014, 2015, I decided to put out my writing professionally. And then from there, it trickled. I was actually a signed poet with S02E15. So I was signed to that publishing company. There was a publishing company based in Alexandria, Virginia. And I was signed to them for about 4 to 5 years under contract. They actually helped produce my second poetry collection of Interludes of Sentiment to Me. And I went on 2 book tours with them, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and sold some books, on the indie level. And it was great, having that experience of being, let me piggyback a little bit, even how I even got into that or had that publisher interested in me was I submitted a poem to them that was in reference to like the intensity of crimes that was happening about 8 years ago. And it was, I don't even remember the name of the poem right now, but it was a very strong piece. I wrote it at like 3:00 in the morning, and I sent it in for an anthology, and it got accepted for the anthology with S02E15. And probably like 2 months after the publication of the anthology, the publisher sent me an email and asked me would I be interested in signing on as a creative. They had a bunch of creatives they were signed on, and do negotiations and talking about it, see what the deal was and what the contract was on the indie level, what was my obligation, right? Because I also believe in just because you sign a paper with a production company or whatever, you still have an obligation to promote yourself as an artist as well too.
Right.
So,
yeah.
that's
You hear
huge.
that out there?
You have to.
Listen
You
to the
promote
band.
yourself.
Yes.
No, like it may be the venue's job to promote their shows, but it's your job to promote yourself. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
More people means more notoriety, which means more money in the long run if that's what you're doing professionally. Like,
Right.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree so much. And with that partnership, Keith, his name, the publisher name was Keith, and we're still connected today. And he taught me a lot, just understanding the indie publishing world and being someone signed to it and dealing with, what's not happening, what's happening, and why things ain't moving quick enough, and being, working with people on that level in the publishing world. So it taught me how to understand business of writing, right? And I'm still a student of learning. I don't consider myself an expert. I'm a student of learning. I always say that I'm a student of learning. Like I love to research things. I love looking up things. I love learning new things. So I never consider myself an expert. I'm a student of learning. And that experience just taught me how to navigate the self-publishing world for myself. Understanding if I do want to pursue that major publishing or get ready for a novel or any type of big piece with a big publishing, what to do and what not to do, right? In that sense. And it just showed me a different world. Like that publisher, S02E15, they was taking me to different areas. So I was exposing myself to the book world in a way that I never did before. So that was very experienced when they took me on tour to go through that experience, and to see their connections with the bookstores and how they're bringing the artists in, the creatives in, and your performance, and what does that translate into sales, and how does that all work collectively, So it was a great education for me, and I continue moving on. And my contract ended with them, and that was good. I still have a couple of people ask me, as an indie, because it's very rare that you hear, not rare, but it happens, but it's not so. I felt like I got the draw of the strict to be an indie writer to get signed by an indie publisher. Sometimes it's very hard for any publisher to even recognize you.
Yeah.
But first of all, spark an interest, to have your writing spark an interest in them, right? And to be like,
I would imagine, as a producer, as a film producer, that a lot of this translates to the film world as well.
Absolutely. You know how that translates to that? One of my mentors told me, he's still a mentor today, great story. So if you don't know great story, you won't have anything, right? So I can deal with bad cinematography or even not the best or most expensive cinematography. But if your story is good, you're always going to find an audience.
Absolutely.
So
Right.
regardless
That's what I
of
keep
where
telling
the-
people.
if your story
They're
is good, you'll find
You know,
an
they're worried about, you know, this and that and the other thing. I'm like, yo, dial it back. Start with the script, start with the story, start, you know, make sure you have other people read it, and without telling them anything, you know, just here, read it. Doesn't make sense.
And
Are
then
there
listen to
things that are
feedback.
dropped that you know, because you're seeing, you know, the forest from the trees, right? You're right there. You know what I mean? So it's hard because you know the story inside your head. So
Yep.
you're already filling in the blanks as you're writing it and reading it. You need other people to give you their feedback to make sure that it makes sense. Absolutely.
And when someone gives you feedback, you have to listen to it.
Have
It
to
may not
listen.
be something you want to hear because it's so hard. It's so easy to be proud and get caught in your own pride and be like, no, this is a great project. It's already good. But like, listen, it's really hard to like listen to people when you, even though you don't want to hear it. Sometimes you got to
Right.
listen when you're like, yo, man, this kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Could you change how you explain it? Or could you explain it in a way that makes it so that, you know, anybody could walk in off the street and understand what you were doing?
Right.
Like,
And also give it to the experts. Like, for instance, I've got a screenplay that a majority of it takes place in a 911 emergency, you know, dispatch station, you know, what you
Very
call
nice.
911. So I actually found somebody that works in a station. I said, hey, read this over. He's like, the story makes sense, but the lingo isn't correct. So this is actually what we would say in this situation, you know?
Yeah.
So he actually had, I'm
That's
like,
cool.
this is perfect, because the last thing I want is to play something and have an expert in that field watch it and be like, yo, this is bullshit.
That's
Yeah.
one thing
You know?
That's
I've
the
heard
best.
people
That's the best.
we
feeling.
watched it and they're like, that's
the
not how
best
that happens.
Right. It takes them, it pulls them right out, you know, and that's the last thing you want. You want people to be just like engaged.
feeling.
Right.
I agree. Like, you know, one of the things that helped me with that, and you guys probably know as musicians, right, is when I started putting out my writing professionally, accepting, you know, what people viewpoints are, because you put out a piece of work, a piece of creative work, right, to you or, you know, the team, it's the best, it's everything it is, whatever the development is. But when you go to market, when you go to the public, right, you have to understand that the public's perception, right, it's always going to be, might be a little bit different from what you might take. Some people will love it, some people may not love it. So one of the things that helped me along the way, literally in the first, it was really understanding not just how to take criticism, but understanding what is the underlying meaning for the criticism. What is it that the person or the persons are trying to say? Because
Exactly.
that's a working tool for me to work on.
Right. Right. And also not to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I act, I do a lot of theater, and one of the things at the end of every rehearsal, we always sit down and take notes from our director. And it's sometimes something as stupid as, hey, you need to stand to the end of this line before you start walking. But sometimes there's genuine, like, real, like, hey, try saying it differently. Like, you have to take those notes and you have to listen. First off, you have to listen to your director. It's their show. Like, so that's point blank right there. But yeah, if you can take those notes and really listen to them, and even if it's not your note today, it might be your note tomorrow. So pay attention to the notes everyone's getting, and then do it.
Right.
Like,
I agree. 100%. 100%.
So let's get into, you know, we're 20 minutes in. Let's get into some pre-production. You know, right? It does go quick. When it's a good conversation, it goes quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pre-production, you know, I told you a little bit about, you know, what's going on. If anybody's not aware of what's going on right now, we're in season 4 of The Big Break. Round 1 has started. We've got 40 bands that have to create their own DIY music video for one of their songs. They can't pay for help. They have 3 items that need to be in there, and that's just for us to know whether or not they made the video in the allotted time. Those items are a banana, a pineapple, and an envelope, randomly picked by popping balloons. That's a whole other video. Maybe we'll show later. But you've got these people where out of 40 bands, I assume many of them have never even thought of the possibility of shooting their own video. I know some have, but what about the other ones? How can they prepare? What kind of tips can you, and you've worked in the music industry as well, so getting into the DIY musician mindset.
So one of the first things I would do, especially as an indie band, or I wouldn't even say an indie band, independent musician, right? An entrepreneur or a creative-preneur, right? That's the new term a lot of people throwing out there, but musician, whatever terms work best for you. One of the things I would suggest, coming from just looking at it differently, if you're looking to do your music, be passionate about your music, right? Because your passion starts with you. So it will translate into how your delivery of the music is, and even how your stage presence is and your stage performance is, right? Another thing too, I would think of when you think of pre-production, if you have a record and you're doing it no budget, you got a camera guy, or a couple of film people, and they're willing to do it pro bono, just and help out for credit. Really think about treatment, right? So understanding what that is, of treatment. What is the message you want you're trying to convey to your audience, right? If your record is based on love, breakup, is it themed on redemption, revenge? If it's themed on any of those elements, one of the things I've done before, and somebody told me before, it's like, pick a line out of your lyric and build your treatment around there, which will give you the visual aspect of what you want to do, and that'll help you create the visual aspect of the song. That's one real quick tip and trick, just being creative, just saying, like, how can I make a quality video that's going to attract visually to my audience, right? Because we have to remember there is some form of psychology when we watch music videos, right? And that goes with the lighting aspect, that goes with the coloring grading. If you're working just on a shoot, best tool in the world, iPhone. You could get on an iPhone and do all your settings you need to and come out with a great quality video. But what is the video stating, right? If you don't have that message to what your video want, and if you don't identify the theme, for that way you can steer your promotion and your marketing, because just because you do the video, you aim for the treatment. You and your musicians or your team gets together and you throw out some creative ideas, and you say, hey, we have $0, but we have 10 people who's willing to make this thing happen. How can we do it and utilize our environments around us? And how can we pull this off? I'm big with pre-production on any type of production. Releases. Make sure, even if you're just an indie producer, indie musician, get releases. A lot of people like working on handshakes when we're indie creators. I say at the same point, you have to think of it still as a business. If you don't think of it as a business, you're going to continue to not learn the business of music or the business of entertainment side of it. So, and that's separate from being creative. That is totally separate from being creative. But when you're on your creative space, let that time, let yourself explore. If there's beautiful parks down here in Lehigh Valley, I know there's beautiful parks up there in Northeastern Pennsylvania as well too. Do you have an outside exterior? Do you just need a certain angle in the park that would just show that lyric or that chorus, right? That you need to use. That's a free scene you can get.
Right.
Push come to shove, contact your Department of Recreation or your Parks Department. You can say, hey, I want to shoot a video. Is that okay? Most of the time they would say, absolutely. Sometimes you might run into a red flag. I'm a realist. And they might want you to pay something or do anything in that sense. Do it, right? You're building relationships, right? So they're getting to know you as an artist and knowing that you're using facility, and you might even grab a fan or two, right? So you're building that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Touch on the comment you said about contact your city. If someone's filming, for example, like at Kirby Park or any other locations that are in a park that has electricity, you might need electricity that day. If you call your city, just tell them, hey, we're doing this on this day. It's a very small event, but we need the power on for it. Most of them will just say, okay, and they'll send a guy to turn it on that day.
Yeah.
Because they turn it off if it's not being used. So that's a good tip right there, is like contact your city if you're shooting in a city property site where you might need a little extra help. That's
another thing to add to that on the safety aspect. I've shot things where we were mimicking kidnapping scenes. So beforehand, I actually called the non-emergency police department. Their number. I told them what was going on, and they actually had 2 cruisers just hanging out there, not to watch us, but to make sure nobody else was messing with us, or if anything happened, they could be like, yo, we know what's going on. Everything's legit. Yeah. You're good to go. Especially if you're using fake, firearms and stuff, let them know if you're doing anything with fire. Yes. Let the fire department know. Make sure they're aware of what's going on, that they, give you the okay on it. And chances are they'll be there. They'll be there just in case.
They won't charge you anything for that. The most of the time they'll come out, they'll do it. They just want to make sure everything's being done safely, just like you do. So they'll and honestly, a lot of times they've got nothing else going on during the day, so they don't mind being there. So, gets them out of the police office for a little while, or out of the fire station.
So and the outcome is you get a video and you get some fans. You meet people. And that's a double to me.
Right. And then next time you call them, you do build a relationship. And next thing you know, you've got, hey, now I know this person by first name, and I can call them up and be like, hey, this is what's going on. I don't even have to go through the system. I call them directly. So it's awesome. You just work it that way.
I do want to go back. I like the one comment you did say before about for the creative aspect. I really, really like that. And I kind of want to just reiterate it about pick a line from your song and build the video around that. That's a great way to get your ideas of how things should start. I really like that you said that, because that's honestly the best tip you can give anyone who's sitting here trying to, how are we going to make, what's our music video going to be? Is it just going to be us, standing around like a bunch of jerks, or is it going to be something with an actual story to it that people can appreciate?
Or a combination of both.
Or a combination of both. We love that.
And that's where I would I would normally take, if it's a combination of both, or even if it's like, let's say you're doing like a present and a past storyline together, I would use like the verse chorus to break them up and go between the two. And then, if there's like a bridge, a real nasty bridge, have the 2 worlds combine and crash together or something. Use your music. Your song is already broken down, so use that as a timeline for what you're trying to tell.
And that also goes back to what you touched on last week when you were our guest about storylines, storyboards. Make your storyboards, shoot all your scenes from that location at one time, and then edit them together the way you need. And there's boom, music video done. Like
right.
The visual is very important, and one of the things that's also very important for video, and a lot of artists, video is important in this day and age. It's some people say, oh no, we don't need it. Video is important. The attention span for people is much lesser than it was in your 90s music scene, your 80 music scenes, and your 2000 music scenes, right? So the quickest way to get to people, to gauge people with your music, with anything, is video, right?
Right.
Incorporating video into your plan of marketing, right? So if you have a video component in your plan of marketing, let it grow. Don't be afraid. Don't have fear, I should say, of if the numbers you want, you don't get right away. Or with any type of promotion, if you pay for a promotion, whatever you do, you still have that paid promotion. With that paid promotion can come organic audience. And then with the organic audience, you start to build your following. So immediately don't be, discouraged if you put your music video out there. You and your team did an awesome banged up job, and your numbers are not where it's at. Don't be discouraged with that, but just continue to do videos, continue to promote yourself, because after promotion, or even if it's just popping in on social media, that's still getting that marketing out there to that video age of people. So
Right.
And then you always have
we
you can always reference, be like, hey, remember back, this was our first video we ever made, guys. Check it out. Now here we are now. Like, you can see that timeline of your growth. Like, it's just it's a really cool way to have a documentation of your growth as a performer and entertainer too. Because, you know, day one you might be a hot mess on the floor, but, you know, at the end of the road you may have these amazing creative videos out there, and it's just like, wow, look how far I've come. Like, just keep moving forward. Don't, like, regardless of how fast you're moving, keep moving.
Like, I really do want to say, like, oh, sorry, EL, but the video that was playing, I didn't catch that band right before we
just now, the Combustion Mechanism,
when they was in the living room and they was jamming out in there. That video, let me tell you, like, they shot it. To me, I was interested in music. One, did you see what the lead singer, he had on a different shirt than the other people in the video?
Yeah,
right?
Everyone was wearing black. He was wearing a red shirt. Yep.
You was distinguished already who's the lead, who the vocal you're following, even though they're all a collective as the band, right?
Right.
Like, to me, immediately, it probably could fit in a heavy metal rock, maybe kind of music genre, but from his voice, when I was listening to it, honestly, I said here, I wrote a note to contact you, EL, because I think I want him to sing or something I might have, because his voice came across so like to me, to where I was like, oh wow, like, if they really, and they look like they're passionate already, like, this could be a hit for them if they was to work that record, like literally a hit for them, you know, whatever a hit means to them, whether it's locally or major, like, because he has that pop sound, the band has that natural band sound, and then they was able to combine it together. I enjoyed it, and like, that's not.
And they're all goofy. They're all so goofy, and it's
and that's not even my main genre of music, but I was able to pick it up, and I was like, wow, I love that. Like, and they gave me the visual, and that's a hard song to sing.
On top of that, can we just say that real quick? Like, that's a hard song. Those are some high notes. He hit them clear. Like, I'm sure there was some, you know, maybe a little bit of cleanup in post, because you got to do that. But like, overall, that's still a hard song to sing. Like, I don't even sing that song, and I try to sing all sorts of weird stuff. Like, that's, I'm like,
I like how in the beginning is like,
But with that, like, I thought that was a great, like, to talk about what we're talking about now, how you guys put that video. I thought that was a great way, because they gave the energy, they used their environment. Right, you could tell that they used their old creative juices in there, because they always having fun. You've seen the performance transfer into the visual, like that's the elements. And look, they caught a new fan, right? So this is why I'm like, you see how that could translate for you.
Absolutely.
And I like that you can kind of get a feeling of their personality. Like, the band has its own personality. You really got, just watching them interact in the music video. You know they're shooting it. You know they're scripted parts of it. But you can still tell they're having fun. You can still tell they have, like, bands like that have that kind of energy on stage and interact with people and just have fun. Like, you like bands for their music, but also I've liked bands for just their personality. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. Michelle is saying, whose mom was that in the beginning, where he's like, I like my women a little bit older, right? Mom, I thought that was great.
That was
great. Yeah. So, okay. What else can Michael advise? You know, I mean, you gotta collect lights, right? You know, how can a band use lighting if they don't have lighting? You know, like, right? What can they do to plan to have their own cheap way to light things?
Well, I wouldn't say cheap. I would say resourceful.
Right.
So,
right.
So the first thing that came into my mind automatically is, if you don't have a gaffer or anybody that knows about electrician available to our set, or even somebody who knows carpentry or electrician, anything, those type of things to scheme your lighting set, or you don't have a aperture or C-stands, you don't have this type of equipment, you can actually go to your Home Depot, Lowe's, or even Walmart, get the brightest of lights, believe it or not, and look at the different temperature of the lights. You know, some light bulbs you can look at and they have a warm, or they have a tone, or they have a bright, or they have, and you can actually schematically, literally off of light bulbs, do your lighting design based off of your ideas. So, and it's on the resourceful end tip. It might not be the big blockbuster production you might look for, but what it gives you personality, it gives you a color scheme, and it gives you the ideas that you want to translate. And it's literally a $25 to $30 budget, depending on how many light bulbs you want.
And while you're at that Home Depot, you can get those clamps too from like the auto, like those clamp lights, and just hang those anywhere you need.
Hang it right up. Yeah. Another thing too.
So this is
there we go.
There we go.
What Michael's talking about, and you really got to be careful with this. So let's say you're planning on shooting something during the day inside with the window open, but you need to fill in some light somewhere else, but you want it to look like it's coming from the window. You'd want to take something on the something around the 2,000, 3,000 Kelvin. If you're shooting in an office that already has, they're probably around the 5-6K. So you mixing the two could be a cool effect if you're going for it, but if you're trying to make everything look natural and like it's all in the same environment, you gotta make sure these bulbs are the same color temperature. And most of them, they'll definitely say it on the box, but if you take the bulb off, unless it's already like rubbed off, you can actually my eyes are bad these days. They just get worse and worse. So I just need to take a picture with my phone and then zoom it in so I see what the numbers are. But that's something that you have to plan ahead though. You don't want to get on set ready to shoot. You've got everybody ready, turn the lights on, and you're like, oh crap.
Yep. Too much blue and you look like a dead guy.
Right. Or you got blue here and orange here, and you've got your camera white balanced.
Yeah.
How do you explain white balance, right? That's a whole different thing, but it does involve these lights that we're talking about. Generally you're probably going to have your camera as an amateur filmmaker. You're going to have your camera probably set on all auto, probably, which means when you move the camera from blue light to yellow light, your colors are going to shift back and forth. So if you have them the same, same temperature, your colors are going to stay the same anytime you move the camera. So, and
contrary to that, if you want to have that drastic change effect, you can do a really cool, in your mind, outside your mind, kind of this is company being shot from this point of view. So you can use that differences as well for that same effect on purpose. And,
and to add to that, all both comments, to use that change also comes with understanding your story, because maybe in your line you want to say a good effect, which could give a calm, peaceful balance, but maybe in a lyric you go from that moment to a heated moment. That change in light real quick gives you that sense of vision that you wanted to go for.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff you could play with that.
Absolutely.
And even I would say the lights, the ones behind me that are changing, they're just typical traditional these things. They have a lot of different settings on. These are so cheap on Amazon. These are probably the cheapest lights I had. I think I got an 8-pack of these for less than $100. I was like, oh shoot, I'll take that. And I'll use it for uplighting at weddings and things like that when I DJ them. But even something like that, and they can switch through different colors. I can switch these to cold or warm, and that's just one thing. And you can put them however you can put them where you need them. So there's plenty of options. The cheap option, the most cost effective option is going to be Home Depot, but these are not. These are also an option if you've got a little bit of time as well.
Brian David, very good. Best tip I've learned is to reflect your light instead of pointing directly at your subject. Bounce it off the wall, fill the room. And yes, if you're trying to get a flat lighting, that's perfect. If you're trying to get some really high contrast, heavy changes, you would point the light directly. So it really depends on what you're going for, the mood you're going for.
Play with it.
But yeah, right now I've got. My room has 2 LED lights right now that I use for production. Neither one of them are pointing at me. One's pointing right up here. The one's pointing up there. And we've got nice, just like flat, everything's lit pretty nice. You know, that corner could use a little work.
Whereas I like things dark and dank, so I have my one little light above me, and then those two pointing at the wall behind my banner behind me. So it's like,
Right.
I don't do well in bright lights. I go blind. I flash bang by the sun every time I step outside. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah. These are two very different lighting styles between in one show right here. Like,
Right. So, but it's all placed there on purpose. You know, it's placed there with thought. You know, so yeah, lighting, and obviously, I'm the lighting director for Nanticoke.
Absolutely.
Which let's talk about that for a little bit.
Let's do.
You wanna tell our viewers about? I'm so excited. I want to hear you talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I'm really grateful to work with Seymour Productions, the executive producers John Smith, Karen Mehta, and executive assistant Alexa Krumpa, as well as the director Rick Berry, on this particular project, Manico. This has actually been a project that's been brewing since 2014, 2015, and it's, you know, getting off and ready to go into production in 2023. So this is definitely a project that's very close for us at Seymour Production, and we're hoping that it translate and bring something great to the town of Nanticoke, the city of Nanticoke. But the film itself, the Nanticoke.
Well, before we get there, I'm going to ask you a question that I already know the answer to. But 2014, this started. Why has it taken this long?
Well, like with any type of things, you know, life happened. There was a couple of mishaps with crew, and there was an initial investor that passed away from the executive team that they had to rethink and replan everything, and then COVID hit right initially after when that stuff. So one of the things I always say is that regardless of when you start, it's about when you about to complete, because timing is one of the best things, and when things flow, it flows. And at this time, it was meant for this project to get off the ground this year as the project is moving forward. So even though it initially is, the inception of it was a few years prior, the build up and anticipation that is built up is you can't pay for that promotion and marketing, but it's also the right time to bring that particular picture to the local audiences. So I'm very excited about the film Nanticoke, and just to kind of, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, just to kind of give you a quick little blurb about the picture itself. It is about a up-and-coming baseball star, a baseball player who returns home to the town of Nanticoke and uncovers a very interesting military experiment gone wrong, which in turns creates a horror of zombies and vampires in a whole different spin. So it's a new spin of horror and then a new intertwine with the horror genre, including vampires and zombies, and we're just really excited about it. So that's the little snippet I'll give you, but that's you know, and the rest, you got to come and join us during the screenings, and we're actually going to try to show it locally as well in the movie theaters up there for distribution. So we're very excited about it. And just to tweet it out some more, we're actually doing a couple of pre-scenes earlier of flashback scenes, which we start the end of this month in April, and our principal starts in June. So very excited.
So great. What are the plans, as far as once it's shot, once it's post-produced, what kind of time frame can the public be kind of expecting before they see or are able to see it, and where would they be able to see it?
Yeah, you never want to put a time on post-production, right? I never want to say.
That was Brian David, by the way, that was commenting before.
I've seen his name.
He's editing it, which Brian David is actually on the Big Break team as well. So there's 3 of us from the Big Break team that are on the Nanticoke production. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. Yeah, so
for post-production, we're going to give it some time. So we're projecting, a 2024 release. And as I said before, we're going to do local distribution as well as getting some local theaters up in that area there, as well as hopefully sell the picture and then make it available to streaming platforms. So anything is possible. The audience should we're hoping the audience will be able to get a great finished, produced product ready for release in 2024.
Nice.
Quarter-wise, maybe first or second quarter. Don't want to give it away. As far as understanding, one of the things about film is like you can project something, right? But you have to make sure you get everything in principle, right?
And
so
there's so many variables.
it's a lot of variables, and if you're
one
doing
flat tire
like,
could throw the whole thing off.
Visuals, if you got pickup dates you need to do, and there's a lot of different variables. So
any ADR, because the audio just wasn't. That's my nightmare. I hate it. And you lose for anybody that's watching. That's like, what's ADR? It's automatic dialogue replacement, and there's nothing automatic about it. Okay, that's very manual. And what happens is you shoot a scene and the audio is just you can't do anything with it. It would be a disgrace to use the audio. So you're like, crap, so we gotta take, and you can't reshoot it because that's already done. That's done. You can't re-blow up the car. Okay. You get one shot at that.
You can reshoot if you have a budget, if the continuity is there, right? Because you got to make sure the outfits, the costume, the props, everything has to be exact what that scene is. And then you have to schedule and make sure your actors can be available for when you're available to do the pickups.
Or you can do non-automatic dialogue replacement, where you have the actor or actors come into a recording studio and they sit in a vocal booth with a microphone and they watch on the screen in front of them. They have this one line of dialogue looping over and over and over and over again, and they're just saying the same line. They're trying to add the same inflection, the same feeling, the same tone. I'll tell you what, it's never the same, because unless when they're on there on the spot doing it, they're actually feeling it. To replace that, it is what it is. It is what it is. But it's a pain.
It's one of those things where, like, if you have to do it, then you have to do it.
Right. And then you have to add those vocals, the dialogue in with the rest of the scene and try to match and make sure that it sounds right. So it's really tedious. And obviously that costs a lot less than bringing back an entire crew, location, actors, makeup, special effects. Yeah.
I would do the pickup. I really would. As a director, I would do the pickup. As a producer, I would do the pickup. Then the ADR. The expense. The expense may seem inconvenience at first, but the quality, you would not go wrong with it.
Right. That's definitely something that you have to weigh out. Is it an entire scene, or is it just like two words that are just like, oh, these are important words, but you know what I mean? So you have to, it really depends.
And I kind of wanted to slip back before you had made a comment about just not wanting to put an end date, like this is when it will be released. For our competitors, you do have that. So that is why we have repeatedly encouraged all of the people that are doing a music video, upload whatever version every time you make it, every time you change something, update it. That way, if hits the fan and at the end of the 3 months you don't have a video completed, you at least have something uploaded for us to look at. Because we will not be cruel about it when these are being reviewed and looked at, but at least you'll have something. So update, share. Hopefully you'll be done in 3 months. But if you're not, you at least submitted something. All
right, guys, real quick, I want to show you a video of a local artist, local music in the NEPA area, all original music created by Robin.
Hi, it's Robin with this week's original shows in Northeastern Pennsylvania. On Friday the 14th at the Keystone Stage in Oliphant, Toothless with sets from 4 supporting bands. At Murph's Hideaway in Pocono Lake, the Keystone Groove. At the Parkway in Nanticoke, Mellifluous. At the V-Spot in Scranton, Dustin Douglas and the Electric Gentleman and Portland Frank. At Rock God Brewing in Danville, Pat Motto. On Saturday the 15th at the Creative Compound in Honesdale, Funk Musket. At the Keystone Stage in Oliphant, No Takebacks and sets from 6 supporting bands and artists. At Andy Gavin's in Scranton, Ken Norton. At Monroe Ave in Scranton, Arcana in Channel 65. On Sunday the 16th at Kirby Park in Wilkes-Barre, Brendan Brisk Band and The Tribe. At Benny Brewing in Wilkes-Barre, Dustin Douglas and the Electric Gentleman. On Thursday the 20th at the Keystone Stage in Oliphant, All the Damn Vampires, Zombie and Riverside Odds. At Voodoo Brewing in Scranton, J. Lou. And at the Honky Tonk in Dunmore, Dashboard Mary. If you want your show featured on the next episode, go to thebigbreak.org/podcast and click the Submit Your Show button. That's all for this week. Make sure to head to a show, spread the word, and support independent artists.
Haha, all the damn vampires. I didn't even realize I was wearing this shirt today. That's funny.
Thanks.
You're muted, John.
Yeah.
Okay. So Michael, where can people reach out to you? Where can people find you? You know, anything you want to plug? Now's the time to do it.
Absolutely. So I'm reachable on social media. You can contact me, Michael B. Judkins. Friend like me, all that good stuff. Facebook is really my primary. I'm on Instagram too, but that's most of my followers is on Facebook. You can also reach out to me on my website, oct14entertainment.com. You can send me a message as well as send me to Google. If you know somebody that know me, get in touch with me. I love that as well too, right? I actually have a couple of things brewing right now, project works wise, what I'm really, really excited about. Well, first thing is Nanticoke, the Nanticoke feature film by Singword Productions, which we're really thrilled and excited about. My short film, we just wrapped a familiar face at the March 5th. So that just went into post-production. My other short film, Lonely Girl, we won 2 film festival awards and got several selections and official and finalists awards. So very excited. And that's about to actually have a public distribution or public release soon in the spring, summer. So I'm very excited about that. I'm actually working on show I put together because I love theater and I do theater shows from time to time, and I'm actually putting together an arts and care event in September at the Ice House in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I'm merging poetry performance and an actual 1-act play on mental health and alone with the director Gary Boyer, who's going to be directing that for me for that production. And it's going to be geared on learning about the arts, but also about self-care and nutritionists. I'm also having a mobile farmers market that's going to be a part of the festivities, and everybody that comes to the event that pays for the ticket to come will be able to leave with a healthy food bag just to incorporate the healthy lifestyle and just taking care of yourself. So I'm really looking forward to that event in September. More promotion will come back for that probably at the top of the summer, because I'm booked. We're doing casting and everything like now, and I'm actually just signed on a new feature film. I'm working with the musician Steve Brodsky, who's a local musician down here that's have a big following. I used to manage him at one point a couple of years ago, and we still have a great relationship. So we're just partnered up to where I'm going to be doing the feature film and one of the writers and one of the main writers for his film. So
Cool.
that's in the development stages literally right now. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, just ready to get some projects off the ground. But I did wanted to say to you guys, how can I help support the Big Break and the contest with whatever I can do in my resources? It may not be a lot, but what can I do as OC14 Entertainment to do to help support?
Wow, that's awesome that you asked that. Actually, we are still looking for sponsors. We have a sponsor packet that I can send you. It's actually at thebigbreak.org/sponsors.
Okay.
I believe, with an S. Yeah. John's like, yeah. So yeah, you can go there. I can send you a PDF of it as well. Anything that helps. One of the things that we're going to be doing is putting like raffle baskets together and things like that. So if there's anything that you can think of, maybe if there's some kind of a prop or something from the Nanticoke movie that's a main prop that can be like auctioned off, something like that would be awesome. There's a number of ways, and that's awesome that you asked.
That was so nice, man. And
I actually have one thing in mind. The Manico idea, I love that. But we're going to come back when we finish with principal, and I'll come back in post production, and we could get something set up with the Manico. But I'm in the works with doing a Broski fundraiser concert. Hopefully, I'm waiting for a date to get back. So maybe that'll be a fun thing to see if I can get one of your bands to come down and be an opener for this.
Oh, that would be awesome.
And kind of get that all. Once I get a date for that and work out the ice house for that, we'll work it out. And I'm one of those people where I put something in motion, I put them in motion to happen. So
nice.
And
obviously, unless it's going to come to life.
That was awesome.
And just to kind of touch on wanting to help, like obviously sponsorships are great from anyone. Any donations are welcome, but also volunteers. Like we would love to be able to get a street crew out there to promote our events like the old days, that's
break out the old street team.
What was Michael talking about earlier? Doing the street team in New York, right?
A lot of people are moving away from social media and don't look at things online. We need we need posters handed out. We need
even just sharing,
talking about
just sharing our stuff helps us so much, especially with Facebook video the way it is now. Just seeing that extra viewer on there helps me mentally, personally. Just like today, this episode, we're getting a bunch of viewers and a bunch of comments. And like even that alone helps. I think this is one of the most educational episodes we ever had. One of the most knowledgeable. No, it was for real. Like there's bands that are in this contest watching this right now. And if you didn't get some knowledge, at least about goddamn light bulbs today, then you're wasting this opportunity for yourselves, man.
Listen,
I appreciate everything Michael said tonight was awesome, man. This was awesome.
I gotta echo what Ben is saying too. Like anybody who's interested in getting involved, like I got involved by accident because I crafted a little box as a prop. So if anybody is handy with props, or if anybody wants to learn about something, like this is an environment that fosters that. And that's kind of what it's all about is boosting the music community. And that's not just musicians. Like, yes, that is a major focal point for us. But if there's something that you think you can be passionate about and you want to see if this is a good fit as far as a place to be passionate about it, message me, message any of us. We are happy to add more people to the team and,
that was beautiful.
And build things up. So please, anybody, if you're interested.
I'm probably going to cry after this.
Yeah, dude.
Go sleep. So that's just time.
That's it. I'm going to go back behind the curtain.
Yeah, me too. Bye now.
Bye, Robin.
Yeah. So, Michael, thank you so much for for being on here. I'm looking forward to working with you. On set. We'll be seeing each other soon. Yep. We've got that thing tomorrow too, right? So we're gonna close out with another band from the first season of The Big Break in Colorado. They're called Psych 96. They're still around. The video you'll see they're very, very young, and 10 years have passed, so they're still very young, but not as young. But check them out. They're still around. They're doing cool things. Like, react, love, share, etc. Michael, thank you. No Ben, problem. Thank you. Robin, John, thank you. And all the viewers out there, thank you very much. Here's Psych 96.
I was at my bros hockey game, bored as hell, and then I saw her standing there, bored as hell. I look at the times we used to have, I miss them, but I take it back and not hesitate. You are the most awkward person that I know. When I saw you, I just thought to myself, look at that hot chick standing over there. And then I made the mistake of going up and talking to you. And I was like, oh, suck. And I was like, oh, suck. And now here we are today, bored as hell. All those awkward silences, nothing to say. Can I have a table for one? Oh, that's sad, but you're just too shy for me. You are the most awkward person that I know. When I saw you, I just thought to myself, look at that hot chick standing over there. And then I made the mistake of going up and talking to you. And I was like, oh, son. And I was like, oh, son. Like, oh,